My parents wanted me to have a secret wedding to avoid hurting my selfish sister, but I refused and cut ties with them. I, 27, female, recently got engaged to my longtime boyfriend Jonathan, and I couldn't be happier. I told my parents last week, and while they sounded thrilled and congratulated me, I had a feeling something was off. But I didn't think much about it. They called yesterday to say they'd be able to attend for no more than an hour. Furthermore, they required that I marry in secret and keep the news from everyone. I couldn't believe what they were asking me to do until they explained the rationale. My younger sister Kelly, 24, female, is a brat. I know people say this about their sisters when they're younger, but we're both adults, and she's still a spoiled brat. We had not spoken in the past 3 years. She couldn't abide anyone else being the center of attention, even for a second, and my parents did nothing to discourage her attention-seeking behavior. I ultimately cut her off when, on my 25th birthday, she got drunk and made a scene in front of all my friends. I could not have invited her, but my parents persuaded me, and it was easier to give in than to argue with them. She screamed at me about how I was a loser and would always be, and how I could never compare to her. She did this in front of all of my friends, and if they hadn't intervened, she would have thrown her drink in my face. That was the last time we communicated before I blocked her on all of my social media accounts and stopped contacting her. My parents weren't happy, but I couldn't take it any longer. I had spent my entire youth trying to get others to notice me, but Kelly made sure that didn't happen. I was done living under her shadow. I had already moved out of my parents' house, so I was able to cut her off, and that was the last I heard from her. My parents attempted to persuade me to attend her wedding last year, but I wasn't interested at all. I'm glad I didn't go since the guy she was marrying, the alleged love of her life, was my high school lover. He dumped me the night before prom after Kelly asked him out. She seemed to be completely innocent, but I knew the truth. I cried for hours about it. Kelly disliked me. But, yes, that was Kelly. She recently divorced her husband after he cheated on her with his secretary for about 3 months. For the time being, everything is kept under wraps, but people will ultimately find out. She had an expensive wedding, which my parents paid for, something they will never do for me. My parents now want me to make my wedding low-key since they don't want to disturb my sister's peace at such a tough moment in her life. My father even refused to walk me down the aisle because he wanted to be present for Kelly and proposed that we postpone the wedding. I couldn't believe what they were asking of me, and I still don't. They just kept going on about how I should keep my wedding a secret for Kelly's sake and avoid making a big deal out of it so as not to hurt her. I was speechless, so I hung up without saying anything. Honestly, I had nothing to say to them. I suppose I should have known that when it came down to it, my parents would always choose Kelly above me. I just couldn't believe my parents weren't there for me on what should have been the happiest day of my life. It's been a few days since I last spoke with my parents, and they've been texting and calling me non-stop, begging me to stop sending wedding invites to our family. They were scared that if I sent them out, my sister would find out about my wedding, and they did not want her to be hurt. I finally broke down and contacted them back to inform them that they were not welcome to my wedding either. I told them I was tired of being their second choice and that I no longer wanted them in my life. Needless to say, they did not take it well. My mother instantly began recounting all of the things they had done for me, reminding me that I owed them. So I told her that they had just done the bare minimum for me while consistently going above and beyond for Kelly. They never truly cared about me, and they never will, not in the same way that they cared about Kelly. I eventually accepted it. I assured them that no matter what, I was still going to send out invites to all of our family in a few days, and there was nothing they could say or do to stop it. The argument escalated from there. My parents began speaking negative things about me, emphasizing that they were correct in supporting Kelly since I was a waste of time and money. They even claimed I should have been booted out of high school for trying to steal Kelly's boyfriend. Yes, that is the tale Kelly told them. They then threatened to spread the word about what a terrible person I was, accusing me of rubbing Kelly's wedding in her face. They promised me that they would do everything in their power to prevent people from attending my wedding. Have I gone too far? Am I the bad one for not inviting them? They reacted horribly, yet they are still my parents. Update 1. It's been a few days since I spoke with my parents. I awoke this morning to a text from Kelly asking to meet me. Obviously, I'm skeptical about what this implies, especially because we haven't spoken in 3 years and this is an unusual moment for her to seek out. I texted her back, explaining that I was extremely busy and couldn't see her, and that whatever she needed to say could be communicated via text. But she insisted on talking in person. I'm pretty perplexed right now. Update 2. I did meet her. I know most people told me not to, but I couldn't ignore it. And honestly, I'm glad I went. She has changed. A lot. Like, seriously. She started by apologizing to me, and I could tell she really meant it. There were tears in her eyes. She claimed she sincerely apologized for what she had done to me and hoped she could take it all back. It was surreal. I never expected to hear those remarks from Kelly of all people. In addition, I had a better understanding of my parents. Apparently, they were the ones who instilled in Kelly the belief that she needed to outperform me in every aspect if she wanted to be their favorite. She clarified that this was not an apology for what she had done, but rather an explanation. And it really did explain a lot of things. My parents informed her that the boy I was dating was too good to be with me and needed someone better, like her. That's why she pursued him in the first place. I was devastated to discover that I had been blaming my sister for everything that had gone wrong between me and my parents, when it was actually the other way around. My parents had wrecked not only my childhood self-esteem, but also the potential for a healthy relationship between my sister and myself. Both of us ended up crying at the cafe. It was a little awkward, but well worth it. We hugged it out. And now she's a bridesmaid too. She was quite grateful since it would take her mind off the divorce and everything else. I can't wait to see how my folks respond to this. Update 3. I'm a married woman. I realize this update is long overdue, but I've been so busy with the wedding that I couldn't find time to publish. The wedding was all Jonathan and I had hoped for, and I could not have been happier. And no, my parents did not attend. However, they attempted to ruin it by informing all of my relatives that I was a terrible guy and that this marriage was a ruse to bring my sister down. Fortunately, I didn't have to say anything in my defense because Kelly had already cleared everything up. She made a big post and shared it on social media for all of our relatives to see. She described how our parents were to blame for constantly putting us against each other, resulting in this nasty rivalry between us. Of course, Mom and Dad were upset, but there wasn't much they could do but yell at us over the phone, since both of us had already cut off contact with them. So our relatives did come to our wedding. In fact, many of them assured us we had made the proper decision by removing our parents from our life. Most of them had done the same, because what my parents did was genuinely wrong. Kelly and I are gently rebuilding our friendship and making up for missed time. Jonathan, who has been my rock through everything, is likewise delighted now. I don't talk to my parents anymore since they'd never miss an occasion to criticize him either. Basically, we're all better off now that we're not talking to my toxic parents, and I am glad I chopped them off. They do not deserve me. They do not deserve Kelly. I'm finally pleased now. Comments from others. NTA, your parents are insane. I can't believe somebody would put their own girls through this. Seriously, this was messed up. I feel sorry for both you and your sister. Your folks really are the worst. It's good for you that you avoided interaction. OP and Kelly deserve better. Best wishes to you and Jonathan. Wow, that was something. I remember a friend whose parents were continually putting her and her brother against one another. Even they ended up excluding their parents from their lives. This should be a message to all toxic parents. Do not force your children to compete. NTA. I hope you and Kelly are happy right now, OP. You should explore treatment to undo who knows how many years of damage. Good luck to you and Jonathan. Sending you tons of love. Now to the next story, story 2. I love cooking, but my wife always criticizes my food and eats frozen meals. When I stopped cooking, she got angry and manipulated me. I, 39 million, have been married to my wife, Jennifer, 37 feet, for 8 years. We have 2 children. I work full-time, and Jennifer is a SAHM. She's a fantastic mother, but she refuses to cook, which is fine. I love cooking. My father was a chef, and I worked as a line cook for years. Cooking is my passion. Everyone loves my food, except Jennifer. She constantly criticizes it. Too salty. Too much pepper. Undercooked. She never appreciates the effort I put in, and worst of all, after complaining, she'll heat up some disgusting microwave meal like a Hot Pocket. Last Wednesday, I made Salisbury steaks with mushroom gravy, cream cheese mashed potatoes, and roasted asparagus. When I placed her plate in front of her, she grimaced, took the tiniest bite, then made a dramatic gagging sound, threw her fork down, and went to heat up a microwave burrito. I was livid but said nothing in front of our kids. The next day, I made teriyaki bowls with broccoli. When Jennifer sat down expecting her plate, I simply told her, "I'm done cooking for you." She was shocked. I told her it was a waste of food and effort since she clearly hates my cooking. Jennifer was furious. She said I should try harder, but I think she should just stick to her beloved microwave meals. Did I escalate things too much? Update, February 27, 2025. I didn't expect to update, but things have escalated in ways I never imagined. After refusing to cook for Jennifer, the tension in our house became unbearable. At first, she thought I was bluffing. She would sit at the dinner table, waiting for her plate, only to realize I had only prepared meals for myself and the kids. She would get up, furious, slamming cabinets and muttering under her breath as she made herself a sad frozen meal. Then the real games began. Jennifer started making passive-aggressive comments in front of the kids. "I guess your dad doesn't love me enough to cook for me anymore." Or, when I made a particularly delicious meal, "Wow, I wish I had a husband who actually cared about my tastes." She even went so far as to tell my oldest son that I was being mean to her. "Mommy doesn't get dinner because Daddy decided he doesn't care about her anymore." That one made me see red. I sat her down and told her to stop manipulating the kids, but she played innocent. "I'm just telling them the truth. You refuse to cook for me, so now I don't eat." The next week, I caught her throwing away an entire tray of food I made for the kids while they were in the other room. When I confronted her, she shrugged. "Maybe you should have cooked it better." That was the breaking point. I started noticing patterns I hadn't seen before. It wasn't just my cooking, Jennifer was critical of everything I did. When I walked slightly pigeon-toed, a condition I've had since childhood, she rolled her eyes and said, "Why don't you just walk normally?" When I decorated my home office, she constantly wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Why do you like such ugly colors?" When I did laundry, she hovered behind me, correcting every little thing, this from a woman who once destroyed a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach was a universal stain remover. I started keeping track of the criticisms. In 1 week, she made over 50 negative comments about things I did. So, I finally sat her down to talk. I told her I was exhausted by her constant negativity, that I couldn't keep living like this, and that she needed to show me basic respect. She laughed, not an uncomfortable chuckle, a full mocking laugh. "Oh please, you're so dramatic." Then she did something that chilled me to the bone. She smirked and said, "If you were a better husband, maybe I wouldn't be so critical." I realized right then, I didn't love her anymore. The resentment had been growing for years, but that smirk? That smug dismissal of all my concerns. That was the final nail in the coffin. I took the next few days to reflect. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Jennifer had been tearing me down for years. The cooking was just the most obvious example. I made my decision. 2 days later, after the kids were asleep, I calmly told her that I wanted a divorce. She flipped. First, she acted like I was joking. Then she got angry. "You can't be serious. Over cooking?" I told her it wasn't just cooking, it was everything. The constant belittling, the gaslighting, the manipulation. I told her I didn't want to spend the rest of my life walking on eggshells around my own wife. Then she went nuclear. She screamed that I was abandoning her, that I was ruining our family over stupid food. She called me selfish, accused me of being a bad father, and then, just to twist the knife, she grabbed the plate of dinner I had just made and threw it against the wall. I stayed calm. I told her I had already spoken to a lawyer and that I wasn't changing my mind. That night, she slept in the guest room. The next day, she tried to act like nothing had happened, but I stayed firm. I'm filing the papers next week. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. I refuse to spend another decade being disrespected in my own home. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Final edit. I won't be reading any more messages from the parody community that has been sending me hateful DMs. I have too much to deal with: child custody, asset division, and most of all, preparing my children for what's coming. Thank you to everyone who offered support. This isn't how I expected my life to go, but I finally feel like I'm making the right choice. And for those wondering, yes, I will continue cooking for my kids. At least someone in the house appreciates good food. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.